Hello out there, everybody. I am Scotty Carlisle, and thank you for tuning in to the Move podcast. Today, I have a very special guest, just like every other day, of course. But me and Jamie go back a while now, and he has been somebody that's been instrumental in my life to help me look forward, to help me come up with goals and try to achieve them. And while I was working out with him, he was my trainer. While I was working out with him, man, I had a lot of really good gains and I was doing really well. So it's been a little while and he has ventured into some new territory and he has some interesting stories. So I wanted to get him to share his story with you all. And Jamie, thank you so much for coming to the podcast, the Move podcast. So you've been making moves. And could you introduce yourself?
Well, I appreciate that introduction. You've actually, in fact, inspired me to do things, too. So thank you for that. While I was putting you through a few workouts, knowing that you've done things in business and you've moved yourself kind of inspired me before I even knew I needed to get inspired. So thank you for that. Yeah, Jamie Sheldon from Riverside, California. I started a supplement company, of all things. So I guess we can get to that, right? We can
go
back before that. But yeah. Honored to be here. This is my second time in this room, I think. We've done a few things here.
Yes. Had some...
taking photos and advertising, and also we kind of did things very, very fast, too. We've been moving.
Yeah. We
So,
screwed some things
back.
up. We screwed some things up.
Nobody noticed.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, like, after you rummaged through a lot of the stuff, there was actually some good stuff,
amazing.
too.
Yeah, and I'm using it.
Yeah.
And we're getting great feedback on it, so thank you for that.
Yeah, it's cool because this area kind of doubles as a podcast studio, a recording studio, and a photography studio.
And we've done it all.
Yeah.
Now we're just talking.
Yeah.
This is the easy part, right?
So what is your supplement company? What's the name of it?
Supplement company's called NatFit. I believe it is on my shirt. Yes, it is. NatFit. Funny story how the name came up. Goes back to professional arm wrestling, which you know that I do. My nickname's The Natural, and I'm terrible with titles, so I figured Natural, Fit. It's about fitness and health. NatFit. Let's just run with that. And that's kind of where we came up with NatFit, and here we are 4 years later, going on the 5th year.
So you've been doing the supplements for, this is your 5th year.
5th year owning my own company. I've been in the supplement business for several years before that. Obviously the fitness business several years before that. So this is like 20 years in the making that's led up to this thing of me actually owning my own ship. So,
what was the deciding factor that you wanted to do supplements instead of training or instead of other fitness?
Well, when you and I met, the gym, I was actually on my way out of the gym business mentally at that point. It's, I think, UFC gym was my 3rd gym that I had worked for. Back in the day, even before I started, it was a different business to be in. You could make a lot more money being a trainer or a manager. By the time I got in, we were still seeing a little bit of that, and then it started to kind of snowball. That's why nowadays you see a lot of those smaller gyms with, cheaper monthly, or people who are paying monthly to be a trainer. Those types of gyms are actually popping up and doing a lot more business. There's still some of the big boxes around like LA Fitness and 24, but they've had to close a lot of those too. So plus it's kind of a weird time anyway, right, with COVID and things like that.
I could say that.
So it was kind of a blessing that I was kind of getting out of the gym, but luckily I met you before I left. But yeah, supplements was always around the gyms, and most trainers didn't really get in too much into the supplement area. They weren't really that educated. They didn't really push it that much. But supplements were booming back then, and even more so now. So flash forward a few years, I got out of the gym business. I needed a break from it. I started selling fitness equipment nationwide to gyms and colleges and things like that. So I was still in that realm.
That was your next step from being a trainer?
Right.
Okay. So I remember now, I've talked to a couple of trainers before, and I really want to touch on this point because I've talked to a lot of people that have a job that are accountable to other people. Like when you're a trainer, yes, people are accountable to you, but you're also accountable to them.
Of course.
And making a move to step outside of that, I know is difficult. I've talked to other people, and other people, it took years for them to make the step. So I'm just curious, when you started thinking, okay, man, I got to move, was it a difficult move for you to stop at the gym, like tomorrow I'm not going back, you know, that kind of thing? How is that transition?
Yes and no. The big gyms do provide that safety net, that umbrella. So, you know, at least you're taken care of. You have your base pay, or you know, I was in management at the time that I was leaving the gyms before I met you. So actually I had to take several steps back in order to grow. So I went from being a fitness manager to a different gym to, okay, well, let me go try training people, forget about the political bull. Because you reach a certain point where you can't go any further. And I've noticed a lot of people in the gym business are still stuck. They can't get to another level.
Yeah.
They're still working as slaves. And I told myself I wasn't going to do that. I don't want to say slaves. That's a bad term. But in a way, you are kind of a slave to the business. You know what I mean? You're working for somebody else, which isn't always a bad thing. So leaving wasn't as hard. It was the relationships, the people, helping people. It started to get tainted because you're just so focused on the business. You don't get to really enjoy this.
Yeah.
So I figured, okay, well, if I ever go back to training, it'll be on my terms. I can do it, which I've done at my house. I've trained people out of the garage, which is easy. It's fun. You're just helping out people, and there's no political BS. So that part was hard, leaving. The rest was easy. You know, I was just fed up with trying to grow in another environment. It's like, well, I've done this twice, so why do it again? But I was too young to understand what I needed to do. And I didn't even go to school for this. I went to school for political science and law. So it's like I fell into the gym business because I didn't want to go fight a war that was happening at the time, because that was kind of like my path. So I ended up in the gym business before I met you. By the time I met you, I was on my way out. And luckily I fell into the supplement, which is a little bit different. You know, you get into a store, and I met a guy that wanted to help me manage his store. I said, okay, yeah, I know supplements. I can do this, and I can use my network. Cool. But then here I was again, trying to build somebody else's dream.
Right.
And finally, I just took the plunge. But you know, it's kind of fast forwarding a bit. But.
Yeah. Well, now, understand. So you kind of had another lily pad to jump to. So you managed. So you're doing the supplements there, and then now you're thinking, "Holy shit, this is okay. It's great to have a steady paycheck, right? And I can pay my bills, but there's something that's really tugging at my soul, and I gotta make the move. I gotta do something, and then, but you still have to jump. And when you start a new business, when you start a new venture, you do not know what's going to happen. You definitely, and so it takes some intestinal fortitude, right, to make that move and to jump. And so when you finally did it, when you moved from the supplement store to starting your own thing, how was that transition?
I know my wife will be listening to this. Terrifying. But I sold her on it. The wife was pregnant, and we were kind of talking about, okay, well, what happens when we have the baby? She's a teacher, gets great insurance. So we needed that, right? And I'm like, well, by the time I was in the supplement store trying to build that, I had taken probably 5 pay cuts in 10 years to try to do something. But it was low pressure. I had, pretty flexible schedule. I could do whatever I needed to do. I was getting married and all this stuff. So, well, we told the wife, okay, well, you're going to have to go back to work because, you make better money at this point, and you have the insurance. We're going to need that. So what if I start my own business? Okay, maybe I should have picked your brain years before that, knowing what I was getting myself into. So at that point, it was terrifying because it was like, well, at least there's a little bit of money coming in, what I'm doing, and I'm doing a few things on the side. But if I go start my own business, how am I going to guarantee something's coming in? Luckily, through arm wrestling years before that, I have a network that goes worldwide. And I kept telling myself this quote in my brain, and I finally acted on it. It was, I don't know if I've heard this somewhere along the road, but I kind of adopted it as my own. It's like, why make hundreds for somebody working for pennies when you can make thousands for yourself, or something along those lines, right?
Yeah, perspective.
So I figured, okay, well, I don't mind hard work. I can hustle, and I've survived doing that. So here we go, all in, dove right in.
Now, supplements is a new venture, right? Because you have to think of branding, and it's not only branding but distribution, and there's a lot of things that you weren't aware of, I'm sure. Could you touch on a couple things maybe that kind of surprised you, like, oh shit, I didn't realize that this business had these issues, or
Oh yeah, I could write a book on just starting this business. I took $120, got a business license with the city. That was the first start, or the first phase. Thinking of a name for the product, so I had to find somebody to design a logo, which is very simple. I wanted things to be simple, and I don't have a bottle here to show, but you've seen it. Yep. I made 10 phone call emails to 10 supplement company labs, manufacturers across the country to see who I could work with. And finally, I found one that was willing to work with me based on our budget and what I was trying to do. It's like, okay, well, I don't want to spend too much. I don't want to go all in because we don't know if it's going to work out. But I took that $120 business license. We funded our first 3 products in the minimum. But I in the back of my mind, I drew up this structure, not knowing about distribution, advertising, all that. I didn't go to school for this, but I knew that I had a network. I know people in every city, every state, almost every country through my sport. So if I figure if I start small, people know that I'm serious if I start something. And I'm kind of a likable guy. I haven't burned too many bridges in my day. People might buy into this. We're not a multi-level marketing thing. So when I signed people on to be distributors in different cities, it was like they were starting their own business. So I told them, hey, you can run NatFit Chicago. It's like a franchise for cheap. Franchises sell for what, 50 to a few $100,000.
To millions, depending
depending on the business, right? So we charged, at this point, we're only charging, hey, $100. We sign a contract or an agreement that I drew up. Being a law major, I knew that they just cut and paste. Did it myself, showed it to a lawyer. He's like, that's all we do is cut and paste. Cool, it works. And people have their own territory. They have their own business. And I showed them how to start, kind of like I did. So if I had a guy here, I'm growing here where I live. And where I live, people already know where to buy from. So it's not like I had to go out in the street and start advertising. So, and I haven't spent a penny to this day in advertising other than the small favors here and there, which brings us to our current venture. You know what I mean?
Yeah, cool.
So over 4 years, we managed to get 24 distributors cross country. I've got operation in Canada now, and it's running on its own. So not bad for taking that risk, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Has there been any moments when you were questioning what the hell you're doing?
Every morning. Every morning. Every night. Every time the wife says, hey, we got to do this. And she knows that my brain is just not there. So I promised her by year 5, if things hadn't changed, I would start to think about possibly not stepping down or leaving, because I know we're on a good trajectory. It's just time management has always been my problem.
Yes.
Because I try to take on too many things. And I think, you can understand that.
Definitely.
You like to do everything too.
Yes.
Which isn't a bad thing, right?
It's not. And again, I think I brought this up the last time, but I heard, so I've always been told you're a jack of all trades and master of none, right? And that's where it stopped. So that's not really a positive thing. Mm-hmm. Because it's like, well, you're doing too many things, so you're not really good at anything, kind of a situation, right? And that's, a lot of people would tell me, if you would take that energy and focus it in one direction and be the laser, not the dispersed light, the laser focus, the world would be your oyster. But for whatever reason, I'm just not, or I haven't been wired in that way, because I just have too many distractions or passions maybe. And so, but that's not the end of that quote. It doesn't stop with that. The quote is actually, again, is something like this. It's a jack of all trades and a master of none usually does better than a master of one or oftentimes wins over a master of one.
That should be on
like
a T-shirt that we should wear, right?
Yes, yes, and because it's the truth, man. And
I believe it.
Yeah, so it's made me feel a little bit better, but there are real in being like that. There are real serious challenges that we do face, and that we have to look at ourselves and we have to question ourselves, like, are we doing the right thing? I've spent so much time contemplating, like, man, I'm not right. I'm not right. What I'm doing is not right. Why don't I do the right thing? I know I should be doing this, but I'm allowing myself to be distracted or going here. And then it's like a mental war on myself, right? And so, and I can imagine that you have similar thoughts, right? Because you question yourself because you want to be the best. How can you be the best unless you're questioning and you're looking around and seeing what's going on out there? And when you first start a business, you're not the big boy on the block at all.
Still not.
Right. It takes a long time. And so it's like, well, am I not doing it right? Or should I be doing it? I should have zigged when I zagged. And then it's just too easy to get down on yourself. Right. So I specifically wanted to talk about this because I know that, you know, as the following that I'm developing gets a little bit bigger and more people listen to it, I know a lot of the demographics of people that listen to podcasts are self-starters. They're people that are out and they maybe have a little extra time because they've either had some kind of business venture, or they're driving, or they're out doing shit, right? And they're listening to podcasts because it's basically, you know, killing time on their way to here to and fro and that kind of stuff. So, but I guarantee that there are a lot of people that are feeling those same struggles. And I just wanted to make sure that I touched on the real challenges and the real things that are going through your mind, because other people see your pictures or see whatever and they're like, man, this guy is successful and he's doing so good. Why can't I be like that? You know, because they don't, and you possibly are having those same thoughts about, you know, and so it's very interesting. It's like, hey, listen, if you're having those thoughts of what the hell am I doing? I'm not doing the right thing. I'm, you know, whatever it is, that's perfectly acceptable.
Of course. Yeah, there's a young man in, he's from Hawthorne, Nevada, which is really small. You probably didn't even know there was a Hawthorne in Nevada, huh? Right. So whenever I tell people I'm going to Hawthorne for a tournament, they think, oh, right down the street in L.A. or it's like, no. 7-hour drive, Hawthorne, Nevada. It's right in the middle of nowhere. I met this kid, young man. I say that because I'm 40. I think he's in his like late 20s. He started a small supplement company. He started with one product, and he was kind of picking my brain when he started. And what I wanted to tell him was, and I didn't want to tell him don't. I wanted to encourage him, because it's like, yeah, get out and do that, man. If you want to do this, run it. And if you need any help, ask me, because that's just the kind of guy I am. But anybody else, I would have probably said don't do it, because it's a saturated market. If you're not rich or famous, insta-famous, or a celebrity, it's going to be almost impossible. Where are you going to get the funding, right? You don't have that existing following, because if you have 100 million followers like a Kardashian or whatever, if 1% buys from you because they know you're a Kardashian, it's not that hard to run a business. Very easy. Or if you've got the funding. So if you don't have funding and you're not famous, don't ever start a supplement company. But and like a lot of those former bodybuilders that just can't do it anymore, hey, they've got their following. It's easy to start a business. Whether or not they're successful, who knows? But at least they have the basis to start. You know, I didn't have any of that. This young man doesn't have any of that, but he's taking it and he's trying to do it, and I kind of congratulate him on that. He's got a product that he's doing. He started with a pre-workout, but I can't imagine what he's thinking right now, jumping in, because I was there 5 years ago. It's like, oh my God, I got to do this, I got to do that. I haven't even touched the surface in the advertising world. Well, my new friends that you know about, just the stuff they're explaining to me about advertising, I'm like, money solves every problem.
Doesn't it? Isn't that funny how that works?
It's like the root of all problems, but it solves problems. Jeez. Yeah. So yeah, I go to bed every night with those struggles, and I wake up every morning, and it's for like 30 seconds I don't think about it. and then I think about it, and it's just all day.
So now that's another issue. So there's a mind and body connection, obviously, and our mind, some are more active than others, and when you're devoting that in a direction of progress, and it's very good for you, right? But if you don't have that clear line of progress where you can point it, well, then what happens is it comes back to you and it points back, right? And so it's easy to get caught up in depression and in being depressed or having anxiety and having other mental issues, right? And so sometimes we can do things to help that has nothing to do with thinking. It has everything to do with everything else, like moving, like exercising, I think breathing as well. But do you have any activities that you do to shut your mind off and take it somewhere else? Do you do that?
Fitness, the gym. I don't want to say the gym. My garage is my gym. I've got everything I need in there. And luckily my wife's into that too. So we took our 3-car garage and we can't even park a car in it anymore because it's got fitness equipment everywhere. But the sport of arm wrestling, I mean, I found the sport in 2004. So I'm going on almost 17 years now.
Oh, wow.
And I needed it at that point because I was just hanging out with my friends, getting into trouble, and not trouble, but, you know, not doing positive. Like, I wish I would have started this company like, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah,
but
imagine.
I had to grow and learn what I know. And so anyways, I found arm wrestling, and it was a healthy outlet. It was like this community. Everybody's very, very friendly. And it's a real sport, and it's allowed me to compete. It's my competitive nature. Go into battle, which is another manly, competitive nature type thing, but I don't have to get punched in the face, so that's great.
Yeah.
And you have to keep in shape for it, relative shape, depending on your gifts and your strengths. So, lifting weights, working out has always been my easy out from life. So, every couple months I'll go compete, and I'll train for it, go compete, and it satisfies something in me that I can get back and I can be focused again. So kind of like a mini vacation, but I'm earning it because I have to train for it and, deal with all the highs and the lows and all that stuff. So arm wrestling and lifting weights and it was that way back when I met you too. So luckily and there's something to be said about that because just all the healthy hormones that it releases in the brain. And I just posted about that on social media yesterday. I said, look, fitness or exercise helps with depression, and especially around the holidays,
yeah.
Especially this year and last year, man.
Oh yeah.
It's every other week I got somebody that I know that's,
yeah.
Families have to deal with that. It's sad.
It is. And being a vet you see a lot of that going on, and there are, I'm sure most people have seen the numbers, like 22 people a day that are veterans commit suicide.
I've done the push-ups for that many times.
Yeah. And that's horrible. That's horrible.
Terrible.
And so anyway, but I feel like there are things that you can do to now. One important aspect, like it's okay to have a gym in your garage. I have this in my garage as well. I have not been using it, right? So accountability. When we were working out, I had 7:00 Tuesday or whatever that was. There was a date and there was a time, and I'm going to work out. Boom. It's programmed. It's dialed in. I'm there at 7 because I'm accountable because you're going to be there. So my ass is going to be there. Right. That's just the way it is, But when the gym is in the garage, like mine, there's always something else to do. So how do you maintain your accountability when, is it a daily routine? Is it a daily habit? Do you go through phases when you are getting ready for an arm wrestling event, or is that what keeps you accountable, or is there anything else?
That's a perfect question. And I definitely know the scenario, being that I'm 40 now, because it's not like it was when I was 20 or 25, 30. And I don't know why it always makes me think of the fast food reference. Like, if I worked in fast food, would I eat there? when I was at the gyms, I think the gym business just killed my whole going to the gym. So I told the wife when we met, I didn't have a gym membership. And I said, all right, well, I'll go with you. And we ended up canceling our gym membership. Said, let's just build one in our garage. And I'm glad I did that for a lot of reasons now. But the fact that it's right there usually would make people not do it because it's too accessible. And at home, you want to rest. That's your rest. You know, you don't want to have to. Most people like I have to go do something. I have to go to the gym or I have to have that appointment. That's why trainers are so successful, is because it's accountability. But yeah, the fact that I'm wired a little bit different, and my wife gets mad at me about this because, well, let me go back. People think that we're Mr. and Mrs. Fitness because we have a supplement company. But I'm the realest guy out there. You know, I'm having McDonald's with my kids. I'm eating pizza. Ice cream is my thing, like every other night.
What's your favorite ice cream?
Oh, all of them. All of them. So usually just like vanilla with the chocolate syrup. But I'll throw, like Thanksgiving. Somebody's got to eat the rest of those pies and cheesecakes. It's always Dad. So I am putting those with ice cream. Like if I showed you pictures of what I eat at night during these holidays, you'd be like, how are you in business? So I'm real.
That's great.
But I'll tell people straight up, you know, I killed myself in my 20s. And you mix a little bit of genetics in there too, because that's a big part of it. I've been able to enjoy my 30s, still work out. Luckily, arm wrestling kept me, but I wasn't going 6 days a week for a year straight like I used to in my 20s. I would never miss the gym. Now, maybe 3 days a week, off season. Sometimes I'll go a week or two without the gym, usually after a tournament because I'm in pain or whatever. But when I'm training for an event, I'll set up a match with somebody so I know it's, all right, me against him, and then I'll arm wrestle the tournament after. But it gives me something to train for. Similar to, you know, some young ladies might have a beach trip in August. I need to get fit for that. It's the same kind of thing, something to be focused on, or you know, somebody who's getting ready for a wedding. Find whatever it is and then train for it. So
let me dig into that a little bit.
Mine just happens to be arm wrestling.
So arm wrestling is a very specific movement, a very specific. I mean, there are obviously a lot of nuances with arm wrestling that aren't in anything else. Mm-hmm. So what does training look like from that when it comes to actually, because I would imagine it's pulling, right? Or it's literally, okay, let me just hand the baton over to you because I don't even know what to ask you, but.
It's the most complicated sport I've ever been in. It's, you got to be strong, obviously. I know the common misconception is, oh, it's all technique. Well, you got to be strong to implement that technique. So I like to compare it to a game of chess at high speed with strength and physics. So in geometry. So let's say how many angles are in the elbow, just going from here to here, and the wrist, fingers, and then there's pressures. You can pull, you can push, depending on what you're doing. You just have to keep your elbow on the pad. That's it. Well, there's a few more rules than that. So imagine doing all that at high speed, and then it becomes really more complicated after that.
Wow.
Yeah. So you can be evenly matched with somebody, and most people won't see this from a match on TV, but you might be stronger at 1 degree of an angle in a direction that I'm not, and it could be over like that. That's nerve-wracking when you're up there. I mean, you've played sports.
Right.
I played football. I played everything. So you get that adrenaline rush. Nothing compares to maybe something like getting into a fight might compare to it, but I've never done that in a ring. So, but I compare it to something like that, just the adrenaline buildup because you're going into battle, but it can be over in half a second. And then once you get that one done, you're fine.
How do you train for that though? Because there are a lot of different movements.
Right. You got to have a strong hand, strong wrist, obviously, forearm, and it all connects to the back. So having a really strong back and being able to implement that containment factor from the fingertips to the back is kind of what you need to be strong in. A strong core does help. So my workouts obviously are all upper body focused. I'll do legs maybe, we have leg equipment in my garage once every 6 months. Unless I'm trying to gain weight, then I'll do the leg extensions and squats with the wife. But very rarely until recently, because I used to compete at a lower weight. Now, like when I met you, I think I was probably 150 pounds.
Oh, yeah. Well, a lot lighter.
So 50 pounds heavier. Marriage helps. I've settled nicely into that weight class now, so that helps too. Yeah.
And then as far as how is endurance a factor? Do you get into any situations where you guys are equally matched and you're just beating the shit out like of yourself to try to pull the other guy and nobody's moving?
Yeah, I've been in a lot of those. You know, imagine exerting yourself with 100% force for like 30 seconds or a minute, and you have to breathe, and you start cramping, and you're waiting for the other guy to breathe so you can surge properly in a different direction. And yeah, sometimes you get into these really long wars, and it can ruin the rest of your event. Like you get into a match with somebody in this bracket tournament, and you have a minute-long war, and then right after that, you got to arm wrestle another guy who's fresh. You can be out. So really nerve-wracking there too. But yeah, I couldn't imagine doing anything else.
I think there was a podcast. Tim Ferriss was interviewing Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he was talking about psychology, basically psychological war. And he would talk to somebody while they were working out in the morning or whatever in the same spot, and he'd say, "Oh man, what happened to your legs?" You know, or whatever, and he would plant that seed.
Arnold was bad at that. He used to do that to everybody. I remember watching Pumping Iron. He would start messing with Lou Ferrigno and all these other guys because he was the man. You know, they automatically looked up to him, and they're chasing him, and he would just, yeah, I've heard stories about him.
Yeah,
does that
ever happen in
all
arm
the
wrestling?
Time. Especially now that arm wrestling's got more clout, it's more mainstream. You're starting to see it on, you know, different broadcasts, TV, ESPN, and there's some characters now that really exploit that, and it's very entertaining. You know, it's like misdirection, and yeah, there's guys that'll like start messing with each other, and what they're doing is gaining an advantage, and they're not realizing it. The lesser experienced guy,
almost like a magic trick in a way.
A lot of that, and I'm starting to do that now in my older years. If there's a younger guy that I know is strong and he's coming up or has beat me before, I'll start messing with him from a psychological standpoint because it's like, well, I know I got that on him.
Yeah,
and it sometimes works. So gotta get these kids, man, with old man strength.
When I was wrestling, you know, back in the day, I've wrestled since 5th grade and then also in college, and but I would work myself into a frenzy. Like right before my match, I would be back there and I would be pacing, and I'd pace quick, and then I'd be building my adrenaline, like, and then for whatever reason I'd walk faster, and then I'd like start moving, and I'd just like start a fire, right? And then what would happen is I would go to the mat, and then my coach would be, "Get him," and he'd go whack, and he'd slap me in the back, and then it'd be like, you know, and I was like, electricity was coming out of my ears. It would be, there would be so much energy, and I would come and I would shake the guy's hand, and then I'm sure he's like going, well, you know, and that intimidation, I wasn't trying to intimidate them, but 100% that helped in a lot of cases, because, you know, you see somebody like that is going crazy basically, and you're like, oh shit, you know, like this isn't going to be fun. That guy's got way more energy than I do right now, you know, that kind of thing. But but it definitely worked to my advantage many times, not just in wrestling, but in other life situations where there were many other people around that were gonna kick my ass, and I was like, let's go, you know, and then they're like, well, maybe we might not mess with that guy because he might do something stupid,
right? And
so that's just kind of helped. But intimidation techniques work.
There's a lot of that in arm wrestling. It reminds me of this guy who's been arm wrestling since, I think his first tournament was the year I was born, 1980, or like the year before I was born. Anyways, he was in the movie Over the Top. You see him briefly in there. He's an actual world champion from back in the day. I got to arm wrestle him on the broadcast for the World Arm Wrestling League a few years back. And
cool.
It was kind of like the passing of the torch type of scenario, because he was like one of the best lightweights of all time, and I was a lightweight, and he's from Southern California. Saying, well, California's mine. You know, so, you know, they set that match up, and this guy, 165 pounds, he's got hands that are probably like that much bigger than mine.
Oh, damn.
It's crazy. You can see it on YouTube. Huge forearms. They call him Popeye. There's a few guys called Popeye. But anyways, what he does, he's known for this intensity, is he'll smell ammonia capsules or smelling salt, and he'll shake the table, and he's just really intense. And for 14 years, he's beaten me, like literally, until I forgot what tournament it was where I just said, you know what, I'm just gonna fire off on this guy and see what happens. And I finally got a win on him before that match. And then he wanted to get revenge. So it was a perfect setup. I ended up winning. But what he does is shake the table. So I realized, let me just let him do his thing. Because if you try to match his intensity, you're screwed. So you can actually see me just very calmly letting him do that. And then I just go up and close my hand around his giant hand. And then it was my game. I knew I was going to do well that day. But yeah, there's guys that are very intense like that.
Yeah.
Just let them do their thing.
Let it work to, again. And that was an interesting transition, using wrestling going into jiu-jitsu, because wrestling is that intensity, right? Jiu-jitsu is more of, like, I think somebody told me it's the gentle art, right? And so you want to be smooth and relaxed and focused, and as opposed to wrestling is like explosive, and you know, and you're going out and whoever has more endurance is going to end up winning and that kind of thing. So
I never would have known that, knowing that they're similar.
Yes. But see, here's an interesting thing. When you take a wrestler and you put him in jiu-jitsu, a lot of the UFC champions have been wrestlers, right?
Right.
And then they go into jiu-jitsu or any of the other martial arts, and at first it's a big problem, because I'll never forget wrestling when we would do judo in the off season. I'll never forget. And so wrestling was always my thing. When I went there, I was usually one of the better wrestlers or whatnot. And so one day I'm like, yeah, you want to wrestle? Okay, let's go. Boom. And I got him on his back, and I'm like, yeah, thinking I did something. And he's just all nice and calm and nonchalant. And then he gets his finger and then he sticks it up my nose. And I was like, what the,
Right.
And it occurred to me, Clay Brown, that it doesn't matter if I have you on your back, it doesn't matter. And if you're okay with being on your back, and I think that I have the advantage on you because I have you on your back, but I just put you in a place of strength, not knowing it, that's a double whammy for me, right? And wrestlers are like, rah, 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 and then you gas. But if you're like what you did, like exactly how you explained it, I can see how you let him gas himself out, and then you just
in arm wrestling, like if we take the intensity part out of that, and just mostly when you think arm wrestling, you want to beat the guy fast, right? You want to try to. There's guys who specialize in, like, they're just either slow off the go, or they specialize in catching, or their hit, as we call it, is more for control, not for speed. So, like, if you hit into my power, same kind of thing. Then it's my game. It might look like I'm losing, but you're in where I'm strong. So,
you can take me in a direction that I'm not strong
exactly, because you're using all your strength to go in this your A game direction. But if I've got a B game, C game, and over here, if I catch you in that, you're screwed. And there's guys that'll wear you out. Yeah, it's so I get it now. And they look so calm when you're watching the UFC on the ground, and they're moving, they're doing stuff, and most people don't really understand what's happening. But yeah, I can imagine.
Position, then submission. That was the thing that I constantly go over in my mind. Position, then submission. You got if you go for the submission, and if you're not in position, then you screw yourself. But that I could see that totally relating to arm wrestling.
Yeah, there's guys who are really good at that too, and the psychological. Yeah.
How many matches do you have in a year?
I go to, now that I'm married with kids, when I was younger, I would go to one every month because there was tournaments all over the place. Now that I'm married, when the league was up, the World Arm Wrestling League that I was a part of, they kind of took a hiatus when COVID hit because they're a business and they wanted to run it smoothly. And if you're running things in different states and there's all these different restrictions, and you're flying in athletes from all over the world, you can't really run a business. So when that was up, I would have 2 paid matches a year on average, and they pay you to travel, they pay you to be there. If you win, you get more money. So that was nice because I get to see different states compete, and But most tournaments aren't like that. Usually you're paying your way. Going to an event in Wyoming or I went to Kansas City this year, partly for a business expense or trip because there's a tournament there, plus the guy that's there running it has one of my territories.
Oh,
so
nice.
It's kind of like me showing up to support. And I got to arm wrestle.
Yeah, bonus.
Yeah. So I'll try to get to at least one new state a year and then compete in Arizona, Nevada, California if there's something. And then sometimes Utah. And like this next year I'm going to Philadelphia, assuming travel's good.
Do you arm wrestle you said other countries too, right?
There's guys who fly. Well, not so much right now, but people flew in from all over.
Is there a territory or a country that is known for having strong arm wrestlers?
Yes. There's several Eastern European type. Ukraine, Kazakhstan, believe it or not, Turkey, Russia, of course. And it's different in different countries. Like our super heavyweights have always been able to, I don't want to say dominate overseas. Things have changed a little bit in recent years. I mean, there's this monster from Georgia.
Georgia
Eastern
overseas?
Europe, Georgia,
okay.
Yeah, and he's like the #1 guy. But our guys are right there from North America. And there's several other guys in Europe. But, you flash forward 10 years ago, it was the North American super heavyweights that were the kings, the best. My weight classes, it's usually the Eastern Europeans. And they start them young. So by the time they're 18, they're junior world champions and they could beat grown men.
Wow.
14, 15 years old, these kids. It's crazy. We're doing football, soccer, trying to do something that's quote unquote popular in America.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing strength sports and they're already years ahead by the time we get to them.
Wow.
So, yeah, That's never fun to meet up with those guys. Well, it's fun, but it's definitely a learning experience.
Yeah, I can imagine you're definitely biting your lip.
Oh yeah, like how can they be this strong? And it's not necessarily a strength thing because Americans are strong, American muscle, right? It's just the timing and their tendons, and they're just conditioned for it. It's like a golfer that starts at 2, or a gymnast. They're just made to do this.
Yep. Well, like I talked to my son. I haven't got him into wrestling, which is, I'm stupid for not doing that. But he's very athletic. He's doing baseball and football, and he's very fast and he's strong as hell. I've taken him to the gym with me, and I'm just like, damn, dude, like, good job, man.
Nice, yeah.
High five. But
proud dad moment.
Yeah, definitely a lot of those. But I haven't got him on the mat. Like, I haven't put him there, and I just wish but I tell him, it's like, the thing is, if you go against a wrestler that has wrestled for 10 years, right, that has had his ass kicked in practice over and over and over and over and over, and you've never been a wrestler, but you're strong and you're fast, you're going to get your ass kicked because it doesn't matter, because there have been so many moments where you tried this move and it doesn't work. And so in a wrestling room, you can over, drill. And that if you try this happens 90% of the time. Well, when this happens, then your reflex goes over here, and then that happens over here. And then, so you build on all of these failures, right? That didn't work. And so going up against somebody that's never been able to put all of those failures together in one cohesive movement, or, it's like a reflex. It's going to be very difficult to kick someone's ass that in wrestling. Now, if it's a boxer and he's been boxing and he punches you out, all right, well, that's cool. Right. That makes sense. Or kicker, the thing is, it's like, it's good to be well-rounded, I guess.
And the fact that he's already, how old is he now?
He's a freshman.
Okay, perfect. So he can jump in and see how he does. If he's naturally good at sports, you can naturally, once an athlete, always an athlete.
Yes.
Like Michael Jordan. It's like, I'm going to go golf or play baseball. And I guess he wanted to play baseball.
And then he just kicks it.
Look how good you were at basketball, and you didn't even like basketball as much as baseball. Must be nice.
Right, no kidding.
Jeez. The rest of us tried a sport, or several. It's like, well, we could do arm wrestling in our old age because we didn't make it in anything else.
Yeah.
That's a typical story for us.
Yeah, well.
Wow.
You gotta love it, man. So you have a couple kids? How many
Three
kids?
daughters.
3 daughters. Okay.
3 daughters. 3 daughters.
So how's that? How's that work?
No, they're great.
I mean, you post pictures. They're beautiful.
They're fun. They're beautiful. They're crazy. I guess that's everything with kids, right? They're beautiful. They're cute. They're fun. They're crazy. They're smart. They challenge you.
Hellions.
Yeah, and they're all under 5. We pumped them out very quick, and started a business, and all that stuff you're not supposed to do all at once. My wife and I said, "Here, hold our beers."
Yeah. I mean,
The struggle's real. Yeah.
So I guess if you could relate the arm wrestling, you know, with the training and with having a family, and it's like building that and the relationship, is it what has helped you and your wife stay together and stay happy when you're going through this, you know, these challenges of uncertainty and of you having to spend time and then her having to work and then having 3 kids and daughters on top of that. I think daughters are, they're harder than sons, like 99% of the time.
Yeah,
I would
your
imagine.
oldest is
23.
I remember she was 10 or 12 when we met.
Oh yeah. Piss and vinegar. And then my other daughter, I have another daughter that is 7 now.
I'm right behind you on that age group. Yeah. Yeah, I'd have to say my wife has been, obviously talks you back from the ledge because, you know, we're psychos trying to do a million things and manage a family and be there, and you lose sight of how to do things the right way. It's like, we're not stupid, we know, but we just forget. It's like, oh, okay, I need to, you know, bring myself back to being a dad and not think about the business. Or I've been able to manage arm wrestling in a family. That's easy. I just go hit the gym. I knew what I have to do. I've been doing the sport for so long. The week of, if I used to have to cut weight, I was a miserable cutting weight. You've wrestled, you know, it's terrible.
Oh, it sucks. Yeah.
And for wrestling, you have to use more energy, I think, than we do. So, is it same day weigh-ins for wrestling?
Oh yeah.
See, that's terrible.
Yeah.
At least we get water cuts the night before, and then we're 30 pounds heavier the next day.
Yeah.
We feel fine after we hydrate. You know, I can't imagine having to do it same day.
Yeah.
So the week of, dieting down is terrible. But now that I'm gaining and I'm in a heavier weight class, arm wrestling is the easiest thing that I do. It's the family and the business. The business more so. Family, I'm not an expert. My kids are young. I've been married as of, 3 days ago, 6 years. So I'm new to that too. But, you know, we learn as we go. We've managed to be okay so far.
Yeah, no, it's good, man. It seems like you guys have a good relationship and
we met late too. You know, well, I don't want to say late. We met in 34, 35. So we'd already lived enough to figure out what we don't want.
Right.
And figure out how we want to do things. And yeah, so that helped too.
So when it comes to back to business for a second, when it comes to figuring out a new product, do you have a routine? How do you figure out what product and then what flavors?
Perfect question. I designed this whole, I guess, all the products to my standards, which isn't the best, depending on who you talk to. But what's the best way to say this? I've been around it for so long that I knew what I liked and I knew what the masses liked. So I tried to combine both of those. So maybe if I wanted something with a little less sugar or more sugar, but more people are buying, I have to kind of meet in the middle. But I knew what people liked. So let's say our protein, I wanted to keep it as complete and simple for the masses. Minus vegan, obviously. But we got to that 2 years later, we got to the vegan protein. So we have that now. So I designed that with, you know, relatively low sugar, low carb, high enough protein, low sodium. Even though most people don't look at sodium, they just look at protein calories. But sodium, a lot of these proteins have a ton of sodium and they wonder why they're bloating. It's like, well, get one with less sodium, maybe you'll bloat less, you know, things like that. So having 20 years experience doing this stuff, or at least being around it, I knew what to have and what not. So I told the lab, I call it the Nat Cave. It's like, all right, I want a protein and I want it like this. So I sent them and they're like, all right. And then they send me samples. We try it. We like it. We hate it. Let's try these flavors.
Oh, wow.
And that's how we do it. And then new product. A lot of them are pretty simple, though, like the BCAAs, the branched chain aminos. It's just the simple 2-1-1 ratio of aminos. And you can't really mess that up. You just pick flavors that are good.
When you say 2-1-1, what is that? Two parts of what?
Leucine, isoleucine, valine, the 3 branched chain aminos. The common formula is 2-1-1 ratio of those. There's certain companies that'll try to argue, 4-1-1, 6-1-1, 12. It's all BS.
Got it.
Certain products take a little bit more thought, like the joints. Well, the joint support wasn't really that. Here's how I developed that one. People are buying glucosamine, chondroitin, MSM, vitamin D3, turmeric for anti-inflammation. Let's put it all in one. See what happens. That's how we made it. Got it in a pill. We're getting great feedback on it. So it's everything people are buying individually, all in one product. So that was that simple. Didn't take very long to figure that one out. You got more products coming.
Now, how do you get that to let people know, the people that are buying the turmeric or the people that are buying the glucosamine? How do you hey, check it out. Hold on a second. Come look over here.
That's exactly how I do it. Now, we haven't done advertising on a grand scale yet because you got to have the funding for that. So flashing back to when we started, all the funds we had to go into product. And then I started with 4 products and a couple territories. And we started to do this. So you had to depend on these guys distributing it to grow. Luckily, we had enough early on that we have up to 27 products now as of...
Oh, wow.
Hopefully they arrive this month, the new ones, but probably going to be till January. So yeah, 2 dozen territories distributing it. Small interest in Canada that's generating a little bit of revenue. But even then, it's just enough to get things to keep moving.
Right.
We haven't profited like those huge companies like the hundreds of millions or anything like that. So we're still
not yet
small yet. But again, my new friends, that are going to help out, they're going to take care of that advertising part that's been missing. So when I've had these meetings, they're surprised that I got this far without doing anything like that. My advertising on social media is me posting or my territories posting. And it's just, I've done a few paid advertisements, but now that I'm learning a lot more about it, it doesn't really do much unless you have the right funding and sourcing. And
So I got to ask you though, because we're Facebook friends, but I always laugh because you're always posting funny things where you will literally photo. I don't know if you Photoshop or do you just come up with an idea and tell somebody, or
everything on my phone.
So you literally come up with a picture, Photoshop, whatever it is, type whatever it is that you type, and then, wow, man.
I've got like 6 or 7 apps that do the photo, the fonts, the color, very, very simple. I don't have Photoshop. Now for the website, I had to outsource to actual graphic designers and people who know how to do this professionally. That's why it looks tip top now. But yeah, the stuff that I do on our social media is very layman.
You just figure it. And do you just get, do you have moments of inspiration or do you have a clockwork? I got to do it today or I got to do it every other day or what's your...
Well, I try to post in the morning and the evening just as those constant reminders that people need product or they need to see it because if they see it, they remember and they're like, oh yeah, I need to get this. But then I'll have those pops into my head, and it's weird. Like I've done 10,000 posts. When I first started Instagram, I only got on there because I was at my buddy's gym, and these guys saw us arm wrestling, and the guy said, "Hey, can we follow you?" Well, what the hell are you talking about? And my buddy said Instagram. I was like, "Oh, great! Now I got to get on Instagram." And this was what year was this? 2013, 14. I was on Facebook already just to keep in touch with family, and it was kind of fun. Because we did the MySpace thing, remember?
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I'm not getting on Instagram. And then next thing you know, that's where it's at. It's like...
And now there's TikTok. Have you done anything with TikTok?
One of our distributors, this young lady in Rancho Cucamonga, she made a video. She's probably in her early 20s. Young, trainer. Okay, I'm going to have to talk about this. She made a video. Excuse me. And it's my buddy's niece, so he's kind of helping her fund the territory, and because he's in business and he wants to help his niece do something because she's a trainer and she's got a small following. She posted a video of her kind of shaking her butt, and obviously our protein's in the back, and she made a protein shake. Got 4 million views. So that was my introduction to TikTok, because I didn't know
guacamole.
I just saw people doing these stupid challenges, and I'm like, I'm not getting on TikTok. I'm not doing any of that. But I saw that that's another advertising realm.
4 million views.
Just from a girl shaking her butt and making a protein shake. Now, do I condone that type of behavior for my company? No, we try to keep it classy, right? But it worked, and she ran out of protein, and I ran out of the same flavors because they came looking at. And I told her, I said, "Look, you need to take some business coaching, because you can make way more money selling our products if you." So we had to talk with her, and yeah, she's gonna be just fine.
When I was at USC, it was for the entrepreneurship program, and there were other. You had to, part of the program is you start your own business, right? And you have to take it through all of the different steps, and then it's cool. It's really cool. I learned a lot. At the time that I went there, I already started several businesses, and stupidly, but that's how you learn, right? And so there's a question. A lot of people are like, you can't teach entrepreneurship. You can't teach it. And so what the hell would you get a degree in entrepreneurship, you dumbass? Mm-hmm. They have a good point. So I don't think entrepreneurship really can be taught. I think you got to have it. However, there are things that you can learn that can help you be more effective and efficient.
Right.
And there are people that you can meet that you can increase your network. So those things together, it made sense for me, and I'm so glad I did it.
Yeah.
I got that opportunity. But there were people that were starting businesses where they were taking influencers and connecting them with products. So products. Now, what ended up happening is a lot of them were like, for the people that have the products, you might see an up and comer, but they haven't made it that point, and so they don't want them, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have these other people that have made it to this point where they have 100 million or whatever, a million whatever it is, a lot of followers, mm-hmm. and it's so expensive that they don't have the budget, and so it's a really difficult way of so.
Seen it, I'm in it. I've got some people that are out there promoting. A lot of it is within the arm wrestling community, which is great, and I mean it's a blessing because I wouldn't have been able to start it without that community. But yeah, there's guys who I take care of that do help grow from their YouTube channels or whatever. None of them are like crazy famous. I've had a few people that have a few 100,000 followers post our stuff, and it's generated a little bit of business, but we haven't paid them to do anything yet. But once again, we circle back around to my new friends. They already have it all lined up. Like they want to pay a lot of people to do this. I'm like, well, that's great because obviously we didn't have the funding to do that. It's hard enough to get the product. We haven't been able to get the product at the cheapest price point yet because we didn't have $250,000 in the bank and we didn't have the demand for it.
Right.
Because the last thing you want to do is take out a loan, get that product, it sits, expires because you don't have the advertising because you spent all your money on. So, like I said, don't ever start supplements unless you're already rich or you have an avenue that's got all those followers. Like if you have this next rising star coming out of college to go into the NFL, well, sign him quick. Let him market your stuff. But I don't have that kid yet. So we had to do it the old-fashioned way.
It's almost like it's like you're starting a business is almost like riding a unicycle, and in a race. And you got to get from point A to point B quick, right? Mm-hmm. Otherwise, before the race is over. Yeah. And so, but you've never ridden a unicycle before, and you're going to fall. And unless you're tough enough to get your ass back up on that unicycle mm-hmm. and do it again and look stupid and be slow and be embarrassed, and, if you don't have those characteristics, then do not start your own business. Some of these multi-level marketing companies, they'll get a bunch of people into a room mm-hmm. and you have a very charismatic speaker that goes up to the front and is mm-hmm. like, hey, everybody, I was like you. I had a job and I hated it every morning. And, I had a dream of flying an airplane and, it sucked. And I cried myself to sleep every night, whatever. Mm-hmm. And, I finally took the plunge and and now I have my own jet and I make $1 bazillion every second. And, whatever. Sometimes it gets a little, you're looking at it like, I don't think so. Like,
Right.
if you're making that much money, why are you here on a Sunday night and not with your family? That kind of thing. So,
Right.
But there is but I'll never forget, I was invited to one of these meetings. Somebody said, Scotty, I want your opinion. I want you to tell me what you think about this opportunity.
Perfect.
Right. And I knew that is a tactic. It is 100% tactic. And I'm okay with that because I'm like, I had a lot of respect for this guy. And I was like, I will do that. And I will give you my opinion. He didn't realize what that meant when he was asking for my opinion. So I went to it, and then the guy had actually told everybody, go out and get a credit card. Put your first auto ship on your credit card, which is like $2,000. And then it's an auto ship, and then you can get the product and sell the product, and then you can pay your credit card, and then you basically jumpstart your business without having anything. And I'm just like going like, God, does he know what he's saying? Like, holy crap. Like, that takes... And so that was like nails on a chalkboard, right? Because I had, at that point, I had gone through bankruptcy. I had gone through a foreclosure. I had a repossession of my car. I've gone through all these life experiences because I made stupid choices, right? And I had to suffer. And it's like, I wouldn't ask other people to put themselves in a situation like that. Right. And that's what he's doing. And that's okay. That's cool. He can do that. But anyway, note to self, this is my notes. I'm going to, and then usually in these meetings, at the end of the meeting, there's like a big, climax, right? And then and then it's kind of like a hard close. Well, sign up right now. And then everybody, and then it's the peer pressure thing. And then that's how they get to people to sign up. Yeah. But I saw that climax happening, and I'm like, hey, I got to go. Hey, I'm going to thank you for inviting me here. I appreciate that. I will get you, what I think. And then boom, I dipped before it got to that point. Right before it got to that point. And he's like, okay, and then I wrote a very long letter. And I started it out with the sales approach, saying, this is why I think this is great. And I went through the people, I went through the product, I went through the environment, I went through the timing, I went through the price point, I went through the business opportunity. I was very thorough on all of these different things, why I think it's a great idea, great timing.
Yeah, you were unbiased on... But now here's the...
Yes.
Here's the boom.
So now that you understand... I understand.
Yeah.
Now let me put a little extra how my perspective on things. And while this is good, and then I just broke it down a lot of things, but in a tactful way. And then I had references to like Herbalife, and then I had references to like marketing, where like the little gorillas where they're bouncing a basketball, and then you have a gorilla walk in and out. Have you seen those?
Yeah.
And then I referenced that, and then I referenced some other things that were to my point, like, hey, this is great. However, this company is having an issue because of these situations that you're saying over here, but they're doing it over here, and there's a big court case and that kind of stuff. And the point was, and because I did that, because I respected this man, and I wanted him to understand how I understand things. And I was so upset at the response I got. Literally, like, I had this much broke in, and his response was, wow, thank you for that. I didn't realize you saw it this way. It's clear that there's many ways to improve. That's it. Like, it was a sentence. And I'm like, some bitch. Like,
did he join?
No, he was part of it. He was part of it, and him inviting me is because he was inviting me. He wanted me to join, but because he knows I have a lot of
my bad.
different
I thought
contacts.
It was somebody who was thinking about joining that had you come with him.
Oh, no.
Okay.
No, he was
already immersed.
Immersed. Yes, and he was telling me about it, and so that's why I was I still to this day, I'll never forget that, because it's like I really poured a lot into and so I wanted to hear objections like, hey, you see it this way, but it's flawed. You don't see the whole picture because of this. And this is why I'm doing it. That's what I was fishing for. I wanted that to, because we all can learn every day. Like, we all have biases, right? And sometimes those biases are stupid. And sometimes it takes people to point that out.
Right. And you were giving him your honest opinion and kind of like, all right, now prove me what I think wrong, because you definitely would want to hear it. But obviously he couldn't do that, so he just dipped out of the conversation.
Yep. And he's like, peace out. Like, oh, I'm not going to spend any more time on you. And I'm like, all right, cool, whatever.
I stress that our company is not a multi-level thing. Like, I tell people off the bat, look, you're going to run your own ship. But it's not one of those, hey, you're running your ship, but it's not like that, Right. So, but I have to sit down with these guys, because when they get the product, their first order, I'm like, you're not making money. This is money that you're generating to invest back into. Maybe the third or fourth round, you can start putting stuff away. And luckily I had one of my good friends' dad. He's my tax guy. Known him for 35 years. And he's also been a CFO for a lot of big companies. So he is my financial kind of like tax guy.
Mentor.
And he can keep me out of trouble, because I didn't know anything about this. I didn't know about paying the state taxes every quarter.
FICO and
you can get in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, well, this is what you need to do. He's like, I don't know anything about your business, but you do. But I can keep you out of trouble. I said, perfect. So he was kind of like my helper doing all this. But I've kind of been like the helper to my guys signing on, because a lot of them, they got product, they sold it, and they spent all that money on their bills or other stuff. And I'm like, well, how are you going to reinvest in product? Like, trust me. Do you see me rolling in a Rolls Royce yet? And I'm 4 years in. Come on.
Yeah.
This takes time to grow, but people just want the quick.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you have to tell them, look, step back down. This is a business that you're growing. Now you have the means to grow it on your own, and we help, but you still got to be smart about it.
Yeah.
And
these
people have coaching.
But I do want to make a point. Like, the MLS business in and of itself is a great business. Mm-hmm. It's a great business. It's a great opportunity. All of the major corporations are there. There is a aspect of multi-level marketing, because people invite other people, right? And so I'm not saying that that's bad. My issue is how it is presented. Mm-hmm. If you are doing this as multi-level, then it's okay. But say that. Don't be a wolf and dress like a sheep. Don't do that.
Right.
Just be a wolf and say, hey, I'm not going to bite you. Look, come with me and we can go get some good sheep, right? And this is how this business works. Mm-hmm. And these are the downfalls. You're going to get hit in this way. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be this. People are going to say this. Like, give them all the bad shit, right? But a lot of times my issue is not with the business in general. It is with how it is presented. And many of those is they sell the dream, right? They sell the Rolls Royce. That's what they sell.
I've seen it.
Right.
Seen a lot of people go through that.
And so I just wanted to emphasize that, the way that you're doing it, I think, is the right way. It takes time, but that is the right way. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, definitely selling the dream. I've seen a lot of people fall into certain things and they're out. It's like, okay, well, I never ask them about it because it's probably a touchy subject, but
yeah,
we've had guys that they couldn't make it with our company too, that just for whatever reason, to put it more bluntly, especially within this whole COVID thing, because people's personal jobs have been hit, their main sources of income. So they're not able to do their side, which is NatFit, because they can't afford to invest in product to sell it. So in that sense, some people have suffered, but other guys have made it part of their career. So that's kind of cool to see both, and where we can kind of navigate through and fix things too, hopefully, as time goes on.
Yeah, well, there's definitely a million different directions that you can go. So
I realize that.
Hopefully at some point, this can help, and maybe a marketing aspect. So if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, or they wanted to check out your products, where do they go?
natfitnation.com is our website. We'll hopefully by December have 27 products on there. Right now you can get about 20 different products. COVID delays, supply chain has really affected the timing with everything. We've got stuff coming late. I didn't get my pumpkin spice protein until November, and we were shooting an ad for it in October or something.
Oh, wow.
So we missed all of October, which that's fine. There's some people out there that want pumpkin spice year round. But NatFit official is my Instagram, and yeah, people can just email me, jamie@natfitnation.com, or call me. My cell phone's all over the website and everything. Text me, probably a better idea. Phone rings off the hook. So once we get to be bigger, you know, we'll have a phone that's at the office that I don't have to answer.
Right.
Because I won't be there. I'll be taking a nap in my office.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
What's your favorite product?
Oh, my baby is my very first one. And it was, all right, when you come out with a supplement company, you can do things the normal way, which is, oh, let me go get vanilla and chocolate because that's what we were drinking 30 years ago. Or a pre-workout that's fruit punch, which we have all that. But I didn't want to start with all that. I wanted to start with something that's different. And I have never seen, until after we did, and I could be wrong, a glazed donut flavored protein. So I started with glazed donut. Then I went to chocolate. Then back to vanilla. Then we got all the fun flavors like birthday cake and blueberry muffin and a strawberry, because you got to have strawberry. But yeah, my favorite product is the one that let me start, which was glazed donut.
What is the best tasting product?
Blueberry muffin. Protein. I haven't seen anybody do that either. And we nailed it with that one. Your whole house will smell like blueberries. You can make blueberry pancakes with just the... Oh, it's amazing. Amazing.
What is the healthiest one?
Fruits and greens.
And these are all protein shakes that you're talking about?
Not the fruits and greens.
Oh, okay.
Our fruits and greens is an all-natural fruits and greens product. So it's got your antioxidants, boosts immune function, digestive health. It's your typical fruits and greens superfood type product that you see on the market. Ours only has 1 gram of sugar, 8 calories.
It's a pill?
Powder.
Oh, powder.
Powder.
Okay.
You drink it. You can mix it with your protein, or just drink it straight. Hopefully we can come out with a second flavor of that, because our Canadian line, ours is a strawberry kiwi, nice fresh flavor. It doesn't taste like you're drinking pond water like some of these on the market taste. And all of our products, we set our line at slightly cheaper than the competition, even though our competition is big business. So we're taking a major hit with profit so we can have a business. So hopefully at some point when we're a big business, hey, we have the right price point.
I feel like that's going to also come with, it's like artillery in the military. You have coordinates, and you stick it and then, it was too far, or 300 yards. So then you call it in and you say, hey, come back this far, come back that far. Do it again. Boom, right? And then you, and it's going to take you a little bit to zero that marketing. I feel like I think anybody that has a product has to go back and forth with their price points.
I like that reference. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, we were talking about it, like when I'm I don't want to say drawing up the schematic. Before we launched, I was doing all this in my head. It's like, all right, well, I know that I need to charge this. It's going to cost this. It's like, we're going to be suffering with some of these products early on, because some of them just don't make any money. Like proteins, do not make money. They're just restocking the shelves, right? Even the big companies, they don't make a lot of money on proteins because everybody's taking them, which is why we don't have a typical multivitamin, because we can't produce 100,000 units and sell them for $3 or $4 like Costco, or $10 for... Our cost would be like 15 to 20, and nobody wants to spend $20 on something they can get at Costco for cheap. So that's why we don't have multivitamin. But.
So do you have how many okay, so you have 27 products. Are they all powdered, or are there any pills?
Most are powders. The pill products are joint support, our testosterone booster, our fat burner that's coming out. We do have a powdered thermogenic fat burner that was launched early on, and we have 4 flavors there, but I needed a pill fat burner for those who want the pill every 8 hours. Yeah,
because some people don't want to make the drink. Like I haven't done the powdered, right? But maybe I might pop a pill or something if it's like for vitamins. Maybe I might be more inclined to do that because it's easier and faster.
Right, and that's what I do every morning is, I know that I need to take my joint supports in the morning. So I take the blue pill in the morning, and I take the red pill at night, which is the test booster, because that's when your body's most anabolic and recovering, is when you sleep. So you take the test at night,
Only one
Joint in the
time,
morning.
or do you take?
You're supposed to do one, morning, noon, and night, but we're too busy for that crap. So as long as you get it in, so I know that I could take the blue in the morning, the red at night.
And do you double up on it if you don't take it, or it's just one?
It's not going to hurt you to double up on these things, but I always say don't just skip the day just because I'm supposed to say that. Say for that. I mean, too much water can hurt you, right? So
right, it's true.
Yeah. So
okay, so you have the thermogenic, which is a fat burner.
Mm-hmm.
You have one that is specifically for joint support.
Mm-hmm.
You have and then you have a testosterone booster.
Mm-hmm.
What other? I mean, that kind of hits all of the major. Okay, the pre-workout, yeah.
We have 3 different types of pre-workout, and I swear I have this discussion like every other day because people want to know what's the difference between this and this. And it's a valid question. And it's on our website on frequently asked questions too. But so you have your pre-workout, and it's the basic pre-workout formula when pre-workout started. You know, it's going to give you a little bit of a vascular pump, a little bit of caffeine for an energy boost, and you can get through your workout and hopefully not crash, right? That's kind of the... So there's a lot of companies that play with these caffeine contents to see. So we kept ours at a medium high, 300 milligrams of caffeine, which is high enough. Because caffeine isn't what's getting you the benefit. That's just the boost and the focus. Everything else in there is what's making you tear down the muscle tissue, get that pump. So we have the pre, which we call pre. We don't call it these funky like gorilla piss names that some of these companies have, because we want all ages to look at and take it, right? Not to downplay some of these companies, but somebody's grandma isn't going to go want to take an amino acid from a company that's got, you know.
Totally.
So we wanted to keep it as across the board professional for all ages. Not saying, you know, teenagers should take pre-workouts, but we just wanted the labeling to look like it's your family company. But getting off topic, sorry. Ignite is the name of my thermogenic fat burner. People can use that as a pre-workout because it does give you the caffeine boost. Also 300 milligrams caffeine. Doesn't have the pump factor, but it's got the heat factor for sweat. Now it's a fat burner. You can just take it and start your day. I usually take mine when I'm driving. That way I can be focused and it powers through my day. So there's those 2 you can take pre-exercise. We also have something called Rockstar Pump that I named after a buddy of mine who joined. His nickname is the Rockstar in our sport. And he jumped on board and I said, I'll name this product after you.
That's pretty cool.
And he's got a gym that he's training people out of and he's selling it out of in San Diego. So, but we needed something.
And that's a pump, or what's the...
Right. So we did a couple different formulas with that one. What we ended up doing is having a non-caffeinated pre-workout. It's called Rockstar. You would think it's got a lot of caffeine, right?
Totally.
But we wanted to have a nighttime product too that you can work out at night without having to be up all night. So there's no caffeine, but it does have a lot of the heat, and it's got double the tingle. So you feel
like you're...
Right. Yeah. But there's no caffeine. So you might go to bed tingly wired, but there's no caffeine wired. So you can still fall asleep. Your hair just might be standing up. So that one's a really good one.
Got it.
So those 3. But in reality, I mean, you know this, anything can be a pre-workout, right? Coffee. So
makes sense.
When some guy tells me, I don't need pre-workout. Okay. But you can benefit from the other ingredients other than the caffeine. People just think caffeine. It's not the case.
I can't remember. I was taking some... There was some supplement I was taking that... God, I can't remember. But it was... Talk about tingly. I would get tingly as hell. It was... And I kind of liked it at the time. But sometimes I've taken pre-workouts where I've gotten too tingly and too like jittery. You know, too jittery. Yeah. So that's not a good combination sometimes.
Right. And they're all going to make you feel similar but slightly different. So that's why I didn't want to go too high on caffeine with our pre, and wanted to have a little bit of the heat factor. And so it's kind of crazy how these things can change with just a little bit different ingredient. But the beta alanine is what made you feel that tingle. So there's 2,500 milligrams of that in our pre. There's 4,000 milligrams of that in our pump. So when you take that, you know the difference is there.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
You know what would be cool, man? If you did like when you go to a brewery and you get what do they call it?
Cider?
No, you get a combination. Like they have like taster, a flight. Yeah, kind of cool. You get a flight, like package up a flight where people can get the blueberry. They can get, you know, put like 7 or 8 products in it, but like packaging and distribute. Yes, there's going to be issues with it, but I feel like some people that buy from you might buy multiple.
Absolutely.
I would buy that.
Really got into supplements when I was in college. I went to UCR. Right around the corner off, I think it was 11th or 7th Street. This guy had a small supplement. It was out of like an industrial type, office building type place. And he was selling supplements out of the back. And he was a friend of my buddy's dad, who was a cop. And we would go in there and get our stuff. And he was selling Isopure, which was my favorite protein.
Yeah, I remember that.
Boxes with flavor packets in there. Like, you get a packet of their protein like this, and they were all just stacked up, 30 of them. And it was my favorite protein at the time, until I realized how much sodium was in it. So anyways, but yeah, that idea always stuck with me, like selling them like that. And even just the sample packets that my manufacturer could make, the only reason we haven't done that yet is price. Because I could get 5,000 to 10,000 of these, but it's going to cost me way more than a shipment of bottled stuff I can sell.
Right.
So to get the packets of a full sample.
Have you looked at outsourcing packets?
Not yet.
Maybe that. Yeah, that's interesting. Because because I'm thinking as I'm talking to you, like, I'd want to try that thermogenic. I'd want to try the joint support. Like I have bad joints, bad joints that cause me pain. Like I wake up, part of the problem of me not sleeping good is issues with that kind of stuff, you know? So, but am I taking anything? No, because I'm too freaking hard-headed. And it's just like, but at some point I would like to do that, you know?
We sample everything. So when everybody, I don't know how this make me feel, and we'll sample it, put it in a baggie, let them try it. I've driven around town when we first started, with hundreds of bags, crack baggies. We call them crack baggies, full of powders. But it's like most of the cops are buying from me anyway. So I get pulled over. It's like, hey, you want glazed donut? But the pills would be a little bit harder to sample because you have to get it into your system. You need to take the entire bottle. But yeah, just get you one. You can try it. You might like it.
Yeah, no, totally. I want to try the blueberry. Like I definitely want to try the birthday cake too, because I like that taste, that flavor. My wife's favorite.
That started off as a seasonal. So it says seasonal. I need to change the label next time we run label prints. So I have to sell 1,000 of them, and then we can change it again. But it says seasonal blend because we were only selling it during the holidays. And people were like, we want this year-round. Like pumpkin spice, that's a seasonal. I don't think I'll ever make that year-round.
Yeah.
Just keep that for September, October, November. But birthday cake, yeah, it was too good. Had to have it all year because my wife made me.
That's cool. What about okay, we're coming to a close. I know you got other stuff to do, and I got kids, and you know, we all have everything.
Well, you're busier than me. You got 5 kids, 5 dogs, 5 jobs, 5 computers, 30 cameras.
Yeah, you gotta love it, man. Somebody's gonna do it though.
Yeah.
But when it comes to nutrition, like, do you, like, what is if somebody was listening and they're like, you know, damn it, I'm fat, I'm not in the shape, or I'm not in the right place of mind, and I need to do something. I'm gonna try nutrition. I'm gonna try to do. What would you recommend? Because there are so many, the paleo diet, the keto, all of these different diets that are out there. Would you recommend one over another if somebody is trying to?
Good question. Whenever somebody messages me about a product, I always say call me, because it's a way more in-depth conversation than just me telling you about this product. So let's say, like, the most common one I get is, hey, I want to try that thermogenic. Give me a call first. Let's chat about that. And I'll immediately start asking them, so what do you do every day? What are you eating? I always take it back to the basics, which is food and your activity level, because those are first, right? Because, yeah, this product can help you in certain ways, but let me tell you how based on your lifestyle. Oh, you're not eating? Okay, that's rule number 1. After breathing is you start eating, right? When you come out, they smack you, you cry. I don't know if they still do that. I'm always like out.
I think so.
When my kids are born. I'm just like zoned out. Like, I just had another child. And then 2 minutes later, they go feeding. Anyways, so I dial in their nutrition first, meal plan. I don't write them specific meal plans because I'm not a licensed nutritionist or dietitian. Anyways, so I'll make recommendations for them. Oh, what do you like to eat? Okay, start eating. And then I'll throw random examples out there. Like, all right, well, look at, my favorite one is look at a sumo wrestler and look at an Olympic sprinter. Sumo wrestlers eat once or twice a day. You see what they look like.
Sumo wrestlers eat once or twice a day. What?
Huge portion, and then they're like sitting all day. It's true. Sometimes twice a day. And if you look at an Olympic sprinter, 7 to 8 times a day, small meals, and look at their activity level. Now, 2 extremes, so let's try to find a happy medium, right? So what do? Oh, we've always been told 3 meals a day. There's a reason for that. That's the only thing that I agree of with doctors as far as fitness, because they don't study athletes. They study sedentary people. But a long time ago, they made up this 3 meals a day, just like in the jails, 3 meals a day, because you need to survive, right? So I tell people, let's get back to that. 2 meals a day, we can get you 1 more. Maybe a protein shake in between. That way you're getting protein every few hours. Body's constantly repairing itself. But you need to be more active. Are we active? Most people aren't. Then I throw in, how many calories are you getting a day, would you estimate? Oh, like 1,200, 900. Okay. Next time you go to the store, turn over and look at that ingredient label. It says based on a 2,000 calorie diet, and that's for sedentary people who don't exercise. So imagine if you start moving more, you can eat well over 2,000 to maintain. But we're not going to get there yet. So I always just try to get them to not focus too much. So I'm not one of those trainers that says, oh, counting your calories and your macros. It's all BS. Now, if you're trying to get on stage, or if you really need that accountability, you can start counting things, but it's too complicated, and people just give up after like 3 weeks.
Yes.
So I just tell them, look, eat, move, come talk to me in a week, and let's see where you're at. How do you feel? Do you have more energy? You probably feel like crap from working out. You're sore. Let's start introducing some of these products. So, yeah, these conversations usually last like a half hour. And they're like, oh, wait.
No, that's good, though, man. That's good, and that's what people are missing. Yeah. That's what people are missing. They just buy a product because they see it and read a review or whatever, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna get that because I want that, but it doesn't doesn't reflect on their lifestyle.
Right, and that's what they don't tell you, right? It's just sell the product, and I get it because we're in the business, but I genuinely like to educate people on how they can change, and I'll throw subtle jabs online. It's like, if you're at the same point next year that you are now, you're worse because you're older. You've lost muscle. So, yeah, people just learn how their bodies work, what foods work best for them. Then they can start changing it for the better. But they got to do the work too.
So what I found, there was do you have any apps that you like on your, that track nutrition or anything?
I don't use anything. My wife uses the Apple Watch. I remember Fitbit from back in the day.
Oh, yeah. I remember, so there was an app, it was kind of like MyFitnessPal or something like that. And it has, because a lot of times I eat out, fast food, and it has a huge data base of different, like the, Burger King, all the foods, or Chick-fil-A. And if you have a fry and a sweet tea and whatever, you just plug that in. And then it'll tell you how many calories and how many, how protein and carbs and all that kind of stuff. And then at the end of the day, you can always go look back and see how many, as a total, how much protein or how many calories. And what I found was when I was tracking that, when I was actually taking the time and looking at it, I was a lot more, I was less likely to eat shit. I was watching it, and because I was watching it, I would eat like sometimes 1,200 calories in a day, right? Whereas when I'm not paying attention, it's like, screw it. I'm gonna eat as much ice cream, or I'm gonna have, I'm just gonna have a lot bigger portions and not think about it. And what's happened is, so then I stopped. I don't remember why I stopped, but I stopped for some reason, because I guess we all come in waves.
We do too.
And then I haven't done it in a long time, and I'm like, man, I got to get back. But then I'm like, I really don't want to. It's like at some point, I'm going to. Maybe I'm hoping I do, but
Well, those apps are great because they're just like a trainer. It's the accountability. So that was like you're wired to where that's going to be perfect for you because it gives you can track it yourself.
Yeah.
Without the appointment, right? Because
Right.
you're so busy. So those things are very beneficial. I do recommend if people need that to do that, and at least watch the calories, if anything. Right.
Makes sense.
I tell people, look, don't work out because you eat. You work out so that you can eat. We all like to eat, but you don't want to feel guilty about it.
Right.
So we got to do the work so we can enjoy these meals. Holidays, people use holidays as an excuse. Yes, there's one a month. There's a lot of days, a lot of hours you could be doing something. I don't have a gym membership. Gym's beneath you. Look at the floor. Do some push-ups, squats.
Yep. Well, I have this sign over here, Jocko Willink. Do you know who that guy is?
Sounds vaguely familiar.
He's a freaking machine. That guy is like, when you look up badass in the dictionary, there's a picture of Jocko. He's fucking badass.
Right there with Chuck Norris and
totally. I mean, I found him from Tim Ferriss. A lot of the people that I've listened to or have learned is because Tim Ferriss is his podcast. That guy's awesome, man. He just gets people that have made it to world-class level, and he talks to them about their routines and how they got to where they are and all that kind of stuff. And so that's how I heard Jocko, and he was the most decorated Navy SEAL in Ramadi. I remember that, and he taught other Navy SEALs, and then now he has a
guy that's always running on social media, shredded.
There's another guy, David Goggins.
I think
the
that's
black dude, David Goggins.
I've seen him.
And he has You Can't Hurt Me. That's another guy.
I've seen him. Okay, I got him mixed up.
I've read that book, but he's also that. So, okay, there's two people. There's an ebony and ivory. When you look up, the white guy is Jocko Willink, and the black guy is David Goggins.
Okay, got it.
And both of them are freaking animals, right? But he does jujitsu, and he gets up early, and he eats good, and he just does, and he's freaking intense, and he's just a badass. And
it's good to have that level that we can see because we'll never be there.
Right? Yeah.
It's not in us to do that.
Yeah.
But you can respect that.
Yes.
Respect
and pull.
Work.
Well, I have
take some of that from him.
So he had a thing. He said it back then. Discipline equals freedom, because the point is, the more things you do, like if you get up and you go exercise, then you can eat, then you have the freedom to eat, whereas if you don't, you can't. And so I have this sign right over there. It says discipline equals freedom, from me listening to him say that. And it's there all the time as a reminder for me to try to, and I don't look at it a lot of the time, but it's still there, and it's still like, I don't want to kid myself. If I want something, I know how to get it, and it is discipline, it is accountability, it is action. Those things, humility and persistence and all of those things, I think also help. But at the end of the day, man, discipline and accountability. If you want to be successful in your business, in your personal life, in your spiritual life, in anything in life, discipline and accountability are key components.
And those are words we're taught as kids, and we don't pay attention to it. Discipline. I remember hearing that word. We just thought it was getting in trouble.
Yeah, getting a spanking.
No, it's not the most important word we need to hear, right? Loyalty, too. That's a good one.
Oh, that is. Integrity.
That's
a good one. That's a strong one.
We should do a whole seminar on that one, man. There's so many people that aren't.
I agree, man.
Jeez.
But
I do know one guy who's like those guys, and it's my friend Jake, rock star that we named. Every morning for the last 10 years at least, he's been in the gym at 4 training. Now he's training people because he took over the gym after his coach passed away, and I've never not seen him in the gym every morning, either working out or working with people. And he fights still. 40, I think he just turned 42. And he still does fights.
Wow.
So he's obviously training and staying in that kind of shape. So it's like, it's good to have people that I know that are there, because he sets the bar high.
Oh, yeah.
All the rest of us are like,
yeah. These tacos look kind of bad, kind of good, I'm not going
to go today. I don't have a tournament for 4 weeks. Yeah.
Gotta love it, man.
Respect everybody who's there. And the ones that are just starting and trying. There's room for everybody.
Yep. Yep. You know, at the end of the day, nobody's going to do it but yourself. So if it's meant to be, it's up to me, right?
Another one that should be on a shirt.
But, you know, I appreciate you coming, man. I think this was a great little session.
Yeah.
I think that we can do more things, man. And if anybody out there wants to get a hold, so I want you to reiterate how they can get a hold of you one more time.
Yes, let's see. Jamie Sheldon. You can find me on Facebook. There's probably a picture of me flexing or doing something stupid. That's just my public Facebook. But we have Instagram for the business. It's NatFit Official. That's our corporate page. There's also other NatFits. If you're NatFit Philly for Philadelphia, NatFit San Diego. We've got a bunch of territories. NatFit Canada if you're in Canada. If you're watching from over there. We tried to branch out into Europe. Unsuccessful this time because we need more funding or a funding party out there to want to ship it. But anyways, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook. My website is natfitnation.com. That's got all of our products. And if you need to reach me, you can always text me, 951-212-4085. Usually going to respond within minutes.
Pretty good.
Unless I'm with the kids. My phone's always on me.
Awesome. Jamie, thank you very much, man.
Good talking to you again, man.
Everybody out there listening in podcast land, I want to thank you for tuning in again, and I hope you got something out of this. I know I did. Hopefully I'm going to get my fat ass into the gym in my garage and do something, but I know that I'm going to do some kind of a product combination, like my joints and I don't know about we'll talk more about the thermogenic if I want to do that, or with the protein, and because that we'll get into that. But everybody out there, thank you, and enjoy the rest of your trip home or to work or whatever you're doing, and reach out, go do something, go help somebody. If you're struggling, probably somebody else is too, and the best way to get over it yourself is to help them. So I invite you, I challenge you to get your ass up and move. And have a great day.
Take care.
See ya.